You're about to discover the single most powerful principle that separates those who achieve extraordinary success from those who merely survive. And I promise you, by the time we finish this journey together, your entire perspective on what's possible in your life will be transformed forever. Let me tell you something that Norval A. Hawkins understood better than almost anyone in his era, something that remains just as true today as it was when he first put pen to paper. Success isn't an accident, it isn't luck, and it certainly isn't reserved for a special few. Success is certain, absolutely certain, when you understand and apply the fundamental principles that govern achievement in every area of life. And that's exactly what we're going to explore together in extraordinary detail. Picture this for a moment. There was a man, let's call him Thomas, who worked in a factory making just enough to get by. Every morning he'd wake up, drag himself to work, and wonder why some people seem to have everything while he had so little. He wasn't lazy, he wasn't stupid, but he felt trapped. Then one day, something changed. He discovered a principle so simple yet so profound that within 5 years, he owned 3 factories and employed hundreds of people. What changed? Not his circumstances, not his education, not even his resources. What changed was his understanding of certain success. The foundation of everything Hawkins teaches us begins with a revolutionary idea that most people never truly grasp. Success is not about trying, it's about knowing. You see, when you try to do something, you're admitting the possibility of failure. But when you know how to do something, when you understand the principles so completely that success becomes inevitable, everything changes. Think about it this way. When you flip a light switch, you don't try to turn on the light, you don't hope the light comes on. You simply flip the switch, knowing with absolute certainty that the light will illuminate the room. That's the level of certainty Hawkins wants you to have about your own success. Now let me share something crucial with you, something that will shift your entire understanding. The first major principle is this: you must develop what Hawkins calls commercial ability. But this isn't just about business. This is about your ability to serve others in a way that creates genuine value. You see, every person who has achieved lasting success understood that they weren't in the business of taking from the world. They were in the business of giving to it. And here's the beautiful part. The more value you give, the more success flows back to you, not as a reward, but as a natural consequence. Let me paint you a picture of how this works in real life. There was a young woman named Sarah who started a small bakery in her neighborhood. At first, she focused only on making money, calculating every ingredient, minimizing costs, maximizing prices. Her bakery survived barely. Then, she read something that changed everything. She shifted her entire focus from what she could get to what she could give. She started using the finest ingredients. She stayed late perfecting recipes. She learned the names of her customers and their children. She celebrated their birthdays with special treats. Within 2 years, she had 3 locations and a waiting list of people wanting to work for her. What changed? Not her baking skills, those were always good. What changed was her understanding that certain success comes from certain service. But here's where it gets really interesting, and this is something Hawkins emphasizes with tremendous force. You cannot achieve certain success if you're operating from a mindset of scarcity, competition, and fear. Listen carefully to this because it's revolutionary. Most people believe that success is limited, that if someone else wins, they must lose, that there isn't enough to go around. This belief, more than any external circumstance, is what keeps people locked in mediocrity. The truth, the absolute truth that successful people understand, is that we live in an abundant universe where success for one person creates opportunities for countless others. Think about every major innovation in human history. When electricity was harnessed, did it reduce opportunities for others? No. It created millions of new opportunities. When the automobile was invented, did it diminish the world? No. It opened up entire new industries, new possibilities, new ways for people to serve and succeed. This is the nature of true success. It's expansive, not contractive. It multiplies. It doesn't divide. Now, Hawkins introduces us to something he calls the certainty attitude, and this is where things get really practical, really actionable. The certainty attitude is a way of approaching every task, every challenge, every opportunity with the complete conviction that success is not only possible, but inevitable. But here's the key. This isn't blind optimism or wishful thinking. This is certainty based on knowledge, preparation, and the application of proven principles. Let me tell you about Marcus, a salesman who struggled for years. He would approach potential clients with hope, with fingers crossed, with prayers that maybe, just maybe, they would say yes. His success rate was about 15%. Then he learned about the certainty attitude. He stopped hoping and started knowing. Before every meeting, he would prepare so thoroughly that he understood his clients' needs better than they did themselves. He would visualize the successful outcome not as a wish, but as an inevitable conclusion based on the value he was about to deliver. He would walk into that room not wondering if he would make the sale, but knowing that if this product or service truly served this client, the sale was already done. His success rate jumped to 75% within 6 months. Same person, same product, completely different results. Why? Because he moved from trying to knowing, from hoping to certainty. The psychological shift this creates is enormous. When you operate from certainty, your body language changes, your voice changes, your energy changes. People feel it. They sense that you know something they don't, and they're drawn to that confidence because it's not arrogance. It's assurance based on genuine value and preparation. But Hawkins goes even deeper. And this is where the philosophy becomes truly transformative. He talks about the law of increasing returns, and understanding this law will change how you view every action you take. Here's the principle. When you consistently give more than is expected, when you over-deliver on every promise, when you provide service that exceeds what you're paid for, you set in motion a force that must, by natural law, return to you multiplied. Now, most people operate on the exact opposite principle. They try to get as much as possible while giving as little as necessary. They do just enough to not get fired. They deliver just enough to meet the minimum standard. And then they wonder why opportunities don't come their way, why promotions pass them by, why success eludes them. The universe, you see, is like a mirror. It reflects back to you exactly what you put into it. If you give minimally, you receive minimally. But if you give abundantly, if you serve with excellence, if you consistently exceed expectations, the universe has no choice but to multiply your returns. Let me share a story that perfectly illustrates this principle. There was a janitor, named James, who worked in a large office building. His job was simple: clean the offices, empty the trash, keep things tidy. He was paid minimum wage, and most people in his position would have done the minimum required. But James understood something most people don't. He understood that every action is an opportunity to create value, to practice excellence, to build something greater. So James didn't just clean, he studied the business that occupied the building. He noticed that important papers would sometimes fall behind desks. He started carefully collecting these and placing them prominently where they'd be found. He noticed that some employees worked late and seemed stressed, so he started leaving encouraging notes with fresh coffee. He organized the supply closets in ways that made items easier to find. He did 1,000 small things that nobody asked him to do, that he wasn't paid to do. Within 2 years, the company offered him a position in operations. Within 5 years, he was managing an entire division. Within 10 years, he was a partner in the firm. What happened? The law of increasing returns happened. He gave more than was required, consistently, persistently, excellently, and the universe multiplied his returns beyond what anyone could have predicted. This isn't a fairy tale. This is how the principle of certain success actually works when you apply it. Now, Hawkins addresses something that stops most people before they even start, and that's the fear of failure. He says something profound. You never actually fail, you only produce results, and those results give you information. Think about that for a moment. Every so-called failure is simply feedback, data that tells you what doesn't work, so you can adjust and try again. Thomas Edison didn't fail 10,000 times before inventing the light bulb. He successfully discovered 10,000 ways that didn't work, and each discovery brought him closer to the one way that did. The people who achieve certain success understand this at a core level. They don't fear mistakes, they expect them as part of the learning process. They don't see setbacks as evidence that they can't succeed. They see them as evidence that they're in the game, that they're learning, that they're getting closer. This psychological reframe is absolutely crucial because fear is the greatest killer of dreams, the greatest destroyer of potential, the greatest obstacle to certain success. Let me tell you about Rebecca, who wanted to start her own business but was paralyzed by fear. What if she failed? What if she lost her savings? What if people laughed at her? These fears kept her in a job she hated for 15 years. Then she encountered this principle, that failure is impossible when you're learning. She started to reframe every potential negative outcome as simply information. If she lost money, she would learn about financial management. If people didn't buy her product, she would learn about market needs. If she made mistakes, she would learn about execution. With this new framework, the fear dissolved. She started her business, and yes, she made mistakes, lots of them. But each mistake taught her something valuable, and she adjusted. Within 3 years, her business was thriving. Within 7 years, she sold it for an amount that gave her financial freedom for life. The difference between the Rebecca who was paralyzed and the Rebecca who succeeded wasn't courage, it was understanding. She understood that failure is impossible when you commit to learning and growing from every result. Hawkins also teaches us about the power of specialized knowledge, and this is critical in our modern world. You cannot be excellent at everything, and trying to be is a recipe for mediocrity. But you can be exceptional at one thing, and that one thing, developed to a high level of expertise, becomes your ticket to certain success. The key is to choose something that serves others, something that creates genuine value, something that you can become better at than 99% of people. Consider David, who was an average employee at a tech company. He wasn't particularly gifted in any area, wasn't the smartest in the room, wasn't the most experienced. But he noticed something. Everyone in his company struggled with explaining technical concepts to non-technical clients. There was a gap, a need. So David made a decision. He would become the absolute best at translating technical language into clear, compelling, understandable communication. He studied communication, psychology, teaching methods. He practiced constantly. He volunteered to create all client presentations. Within a year, he was the go-to person for client communication. Within 3 years, he was leading the entire client relations department. Within 6 years, he was speaking at conferences, teaching others this skill. His specialized knowledge, his one exceptional ability, became the foundation of remarkable success. He didn't try to be good at everything. He became exceptional at one valuable thing. This principle applies to everyone, regardless of your current position or circumstances. Maybe you're a teacher. Can you become exceptional at engaging difficult students? Maybe you're a nurse. Can you become exceptional at making patients feel heard and cared for? Maybe you're a writer. Can you become exceptional at a specific genre or style? The path to certain success runs through specialized excellence, through being so good at one valuable thing that people seek you out specifically for that ability. Now, let's talk about something that Hawkins considers absolutely fundamental, and that's the principle of organized effort. You see, effort without organization is just activity. It's motion without progress. It's being busy without being effective. How many people do you know who work incredibly hard but never seem to get ahead? They're always busy, always stressed, always moving, but somehow they're not advancing. The reason is simple. Their effort is not organized around clear objectives with systematic methods. Organized effort means having a clear goal, breaking that goal into specific steps, and then working those steps with consistency and discipline. It means not just working hard, but working smart. It means having systems and processes that multiply your effectiveness. It means eliminating wasted motion, wasted time, wasted energy. Let me share the story of 2 carpenters, both equally skilled, both working equally hard. The first carpenter, John, would arrive at each job and just start working. He'd realize he forgot a tool and have to go back. He'd cut a board wrong and have to recut it. He'd complete one task and then have to tear it apart because he hadn't planned the sequence properly. He worked 12-hour days and completed 1 project per week. The second carpenter, Michael, would arrive at each job and spend the first hour planning. He'd lay out all his tools. He'd measure twice and cut once. He'd sequence the work so that each step built logically on the previous one. He'd anticipate problems before they occurred. He worked 8-hour days and completed 2 projects per week with higher quality results. Same skill, same tools, dramatically different outcomes. The difference? Organized effort. This principle applies to every area of life. Your personal development needs organized effort, not random reading or occasional seminars, but a systematic program of growth. Your finances need organized effort, not sporadic saving or impulsive spending, but a clear plan executed consistently. Your relationships need organized effort, not random acts of kindness when you remember, but intentional, systematic investment in the people who matter. Hawkins also teaches us about what he calls the momentum principle, and this is fascinating. He observed that starting anything is the hardest part. Getting a train moving from a complete stop requires enormous energy. But once it's moving, once momentum builds, it becomes progressively easier to maintain and even increase speed. The same is true for your path to success. Starting is hard. The first day of a new business, the first attempt at a new skill, the first step toward a big goal, these require tremendous energy, faith, and commitment. But here's the critical insight. If you persist through the difficult starting phase, if you keep pushing through the initial resistance, you build momentum, and momentum makes everything easier. Think about Maria, who decided to get in shape after years of sedentary living. The first week was torture. Every muscle ached. She wanted to quit 100 times, but she persisted. The second week was slightly easier. By the fourth week, she actually started to look forward to her workouts. By the third month, exercise had become a habit, something she did automatically. By the sixth month, she was running marathons. The momentum principle had taken over. What required enormous effort at the start now happened almost effortlessly. This is why consistency is so crucial to certain success. You must persist through the difficult starting phase until momentum builds. Most people quit right before the momentum would have carried them forward. They give up on the business just before it would have taken off. They quit the learning process just before the skill would have clicked. They abandon the relationship just before it would have deepened. They stop right before the momentum would have made everything easier. The principle of certain success requires that you understand this and commit to persisting until momentum is established. Once you have momentum in any area of life, maintaining and building on it becomes exponentially easier than starting from zero. This is why successful people often become more successful. They have momentum working for them. Now, Hawkins introduces something that might be the most important principle of all, and that's the mental attitude of expectancy. This goes beyond positive thinking, beyond affirmations, beyond visualization, although it includes elements of all these. The attitude of expectancy means that you genuinely expect good outcomes. You expect opportunities. You expect that things will work in your favor, not because you're special or privileged, but because you're applying proven principles that must produce results. This expectancy affects everything. It affects how you see opportunities. Many people don't see opportunities because they're not expecting them. It affects how you interpret events. The same event can be seen as a disaster or an opportunity depending on your expectancy. It affects how others respond to you. People are drawn to those who expect good things because that energy is magnetic and contagious. Let me tell you about Robert, a real estate agent who struggled for years. He would show properties expecting rejection, expecting that the client wouldn't like it, expecting that they wouldn't be able to afford it, expecting that something would go wrong. And guess what? His expectations were almost always met. Then he learned about the principle of expectancy. He started showing properties expecting that the client would love it, expecting that the financing would work out, expecting that this would be the perfect match. His closing rate tripled within months. What changed? The properties were the same. The clients were similar. The market hadn't shifted dramatically. What changed was his expectancy, and that expectancy changed his energy, his presentation, his persistence, his creativity in solving problems. When you expect success, you unconsciously do hundreds of small things differently that make success more likely. But here's where Hawkins gets really practical. He says that expectancy without action is just fantasy. You must combine absolute expectancy with consistent, organized, excellent action. This combination is unstoppable. You expect success, so you take action. The action produces results. Some results are positive, reinforcing your expectancy. Some results are learning opportunities, giving you information to adjust your action. Either way, you're moving forward with certainty. The philosophy of certain success also requires that you develop what Hawkins calls a prosperity consciousness. This is different from just wanting to be wealthy. A prosperity consciousness means that you fundamentally believe that abundance is natural, that the universe is supportive, that there's enough for everyone, that your success doesn't require someone else's failure. Most people, even if they don't realize it, operate from a poverty consciousness. They believe that resources are scarce, that life is hard, that success is rare, that you have to fight and struggle and claw your way to any achievement. This consciousness creates the very reality they fear. They make decisions from scarcity. They hoard rather than share. They compete rather than collaborate. They focus on what they lack rather than what they have. But when you develop a prosperity consciousness, everything shifts. You make generous decisions because you trust that more will come. You collaborate freely because you know that helping others helps you. You focus on abundance and opportunities rather than scarcity and limitations. And here's the miraculous part. This consciousness attracts prosperity to you like a magnet attracts iron filings. Consider Linda, who ran a small consulting firm. She operated from scarcity for years. She would lowball her prices, fearing that clients wouldn't pay more. She would hoard information, fearing that sharing it would reduce her value. She would see other consultants as threats competing for limited work. Her business survived but never thrived. Then she adopted a prosperity consciousness. She raised her prices to reflect her true value, trusting that the right clients would pay. She started freely sharing her best ideas on social media, trusting that this would attract rather than repel clients. She started collaborating with other consultants, trusting that partnership would create more opportunities than competition. Within 1 year, her revenue had doubled. Within 3 years, she had built a multi-million-dollar firm with consultants working with her rather than against her. The shift from poverty consciousness to prosperity consciousness might be the single most important internal transformation you can make on your journey to certain success. It changes how you see the world, how you make decisions, how you interact with others, and ultimately, what results you create. Hawkins also emphasizes the critical importance of rendering service. Now, this might sound old-fashioned in our modern world, but it's more relevant than ever. He teaches that you should always give more in service than you receive in payment. Always, every single time, without exception. This isn't about being taken advantage of. This is about creating a surplus of value that must, by universal law, return to you. Think about it this way. If you're paid a certain amount for your work and you deliver exactly that amount of value, you've created a neutral transaction. There's no surplus, no excess, no reason for the universe to return anything more to you. But if you consistently deliver value that exceeds your compensation, you create a surplus. And that surplus must flow back to you in some form. Through promotions, through new opportunities, through unexpected blessings, through multiplication of your resources. Let me share the story of Carlos, who worked in customer service for a telecommunications company. He was paid hourly to answer calls and solve problems. Most of his colleagues did exactly that. They answered calls, followed the script, solved the immediate problem, and moved on. But Carlos understood the principle of surplus service. When he answered a call, he didn't just solve the immediate problem. He anticipated future problems and addressed them proactively. He didn't just follow the script, he genuinely connected with customers as human beings. He didn't just meet metrics, he created experiences that made customers feel valued and heard. He worked the same hours as everyone else, but he delivered exponentially more value. Within 6 months, he was promoted to a supervisor role. Within 2 years, he was managing an entire call center. Within 5 years, he was designing customer service strategies for the entire company. Within 8 years, he left to start his own customer experience consulting firm that now serves Fortune 500 companies. He started in the exact same place as hundreds of others, but his commitment to rendering surplus service created opportunities that seemed miraculous, but were actually the inevitable result of universal principles. Now let's talk about something that Hawkins considers essential, but that most people completely misunderstand, and that's persistence. Most people think persistence means stubbornly continuing to do the same thing over and over, hoping for different results. That's not persistence. That's insanity. True persistence, the kind that leads to certain success, means maintaining your commitment to the goal while being flexible about the methods. Persistent people don't quit when they hit obstacles, but they do change their approach. They don't abandon their vision when strategies fail, but they do try new strategies. They maintain unwavering faith in the ultimate outcome while remaining completely open about the path to get there. Consider the story of Michelle, who had a vision of creating a platform to connect local farmers with urban consumers. Her first approach was a website, but it failed to gain traction. A less persistent person would have quit, but Michelle was persistent about the vision, not the method. She tried a mobile app, but the timing wasn't right. She tried pop-up markets, but the logistics were challenging. She tried a subscription model, but retention was low. Each failure taught her something valuable about the market, the customers, the farmers, the technology. After 5 years and 7 different approaches, she finally found the model that worked, a hybrid system combining mobile ordering, community pickup points, and partnership with established grocery stores. Within 3 years of finding the right model, her platform was serving 100,000 customers and 1,000 farmers, generating millions in revenue, and she was being celebrated as an innovative entrepreneur. Was Michelle persistent? Absolutely. But her persistence wasn't blind stubbornness. It was intelligent, flexible, learning-focused commitment to a vision combined with willingness to adapt methods. That's the kind of persistence that leads to certain success. Hawkins also teaches us about the law of mental attraction, but not in the mystical way it's often presented. He's talking about something very practical. Whatever you focus your mind on consistently, you tend to move toward. Not because of magic, but because focus directs attention. Attention creates awareness of opportunities. Awareness enables action, and action produces results. If you constantly focus on problems, you'll see more problems. You'll think about problems, you'll talk about problems, you'll become an expert on problems. If you constantly focus on solutions, you'll see more solutions, you'll think about solutions, you'll talk about solutions, you'll become an expert on solutions. Both people might be in identical situations, but their focus creates completely different realities. Let me tell you about 2 friends, Jessica and Amanda, both facing similar challenges in their careers. Jessica focused on how unfair her workplace was, how her boss didn't appreciate her, how she was overlooked for promotions, how office politics held her back. Every conversation, every thought, every ounce of mental energy went into these problems. 5 years later, she was in the same position, more bitter, more frustrated, more convinced that the world was against her. Amanda, facing similar challenges, focused on what she could control. She focused on developing her skills, on building relationships, on creating value, on finding or creating opportunities. Every conversation, every thought, every ounce of mental energy went into solutions and growth. 5 years later, she had left that company, started her own consulting business, and was more fulfilled than she'd ever been. Same starting point, radically different outcomes. The difference? Mental focus. Where attention goes, energy flows, and where energy flows, results grow. This is the law of mental attraction, understood practically and applied consistently. Now, Hawkins addresses something that many people struggle with, and that's the relationship between planning and action. Some people are all action with no plan. They're constantly busy, but rarely effective, moving in circles rather than forward. Other people are all planning with no action. They're constantly preparing, analyzing, strategizing, but never actually doing anything. Neither extreme leads to certain success. The balanced approach is to plan thoroughly, but not excessively, then act decisively and adjust based on results. You need enough planning to have clarity and direction, but not so much planning that you never start. You need enough action to produce results and learning, but not so much action that you're just creating chaos. Think about Mark, who wanted to write a book. He spent 3 years planning, outlining, researching, organizing, attending workshops, reading books about writing, but never writing a single page of his actual book. Then he met someone who explained the balance principle. Mark spent 1 month creating a solid outline and structure, then committed to writing 1,000 words per day, no matter what. Some of those words were good, some were terrible, but all of them were on the page. 6 months later, he had a complete first draft. 6 months after that, after revisions and editing, he had a published book. The planning gave him direction. The action created the actual result. The balance between the two made success certain. Too much planning would have kept him stuck. Too much action without planning would have created an incoherent mess. The wisdom is in finding the right balance. Hawkins also teaches about the principle of accumulation, and this is powerful. Small actions, consistently repeated, accumulate into massive results over time. A single workout won't transform your body, but a workout every day for a year will. A single sales call won't build a business, but 10 sales calls per day for a year will. A single kind act won't transform a relationship, but a kind act every day for years will. The problem is that most people dramatically overestimate what they can accomplish in a day or a week, and dramatically underestimate what they can accomplish in a year or 5 years through consistent daily action. They want overnight success, instant transformation, immediate results. When they don't get them, they quit, never realizing that they were in the process of accumulation, that their consistent efforts were building something significant even though they couldn't see it yet. Imagine a farmer who plants seeds and then digs them up every day to see if they've sprouted. Those seeds will never grow. Yet this is exactly what most people do with their goals and dreams. They take action for a few days or weeks, see no visible results, and quit, never allowing the principle of accumulation to work its magic. Consider Daniel, who wanted to become a recognized expert in his field. He started writing articles, just 1 per week. At first, nobody read them. After 3 months, he had a dozen articles and maybe 50 readers. Many people would have quit, but Daniel understood accumulation. He kept writing, 1 article per week, consistently. After a year, he had 50 articles and a few hundred regular readers. After 2 years, 100 articles and a couple thousand readers. After 3 years, over 150 articles and 20,000 readers. Publishers started reaching out. Conference organizers wanted him to speak. Companies wanted to hire him as a consultant. Was any single article remarkable? Not particularly. Was the consistent accumulation of value over time remarkable? Absolutely. This is how certain success is built, not through heroic one-time efforts, but through consistent, valuable action accumulated over time. Now let's discuss something that Hawkins considers crucial, and that's the development of decisive judgment. Success requires making decisions, lots of them, daily, constantly. But most people either avoid decisions, paralyzed by fear of making the wrong choice, or make decisions impulsively without adequate thought. Neither approach leads to certain success. Decisive judgment means gathering relevant information quickly, considering options clearly, making a decision firmly, and then acting on it with commitment, while remaining open to adjusting if new information emerges. It's neither paralysis nor impulsiveness. It's informed, confident, flexible decision-making. Let me tell you about Rachel, who was offered a job opportunity that would require relocating her family to another state. Many people in her situation would either impulsively accept or impulsively reject based on emotion. Others would agonize for months, creating spreadsheets, seeking endless opinions, never able to decide. Rachel took a different approach. She spent 1 week gathering information, researching the city, understanding the opportunity, discussing with her family, considering both logical and emotional factors. Then, she made a decision. She would accept the offer. Once decided, she committed fully to making it work, while remaining open to adjusting if unexpected challenges arose. 3 years later, that decision had led to career advancement, wonderful new friendships, and opportunities her family never would have had otherwise. Was it the right decision? She couldn't know for certain when she made it, but by developing decisive judgment, making the decision with good information and clear thinking, and then committing to making it work, she ensured that it became the right decision. This is the power of decisive judgment. It doesn't wait for perfect information or guaranteed outcomes. It creates success through informed commitment. Hawkins also emphasizes the importance of understanding and applying the principle of suggestion. Your mind is constantly being influenced by suggestions from your environment, from other people, from media, from your own self-talk. Most people are completely unconscious of these suggestions and passively accept whatever suggestions are most prevalent around them. But successful people, those achieving certain success, are very deliberate about the suggestions they accept and reject. They carefully curate their environment, their relationships, their inputs to ensure they're receiving suggestions that support their goals rather than undermine them. They practice positive self-talk not as empty affirmations, but as conscious suggestion to program their subconscious mind for success. Think about two people trying to start a business. The first person, Tom, surrounds himself with friends and family who constantly say things like, "Business is risky. Most startups fail. You'll probably lose your money. Get a real job. Play it safe." These suggestions, repeated constantly, seep into his subconscious mind. He becomes hesitant, doubtful, fearful. He makes timid decisions, plays it too safe, and eventually gives up, confirming the suggestions he'd been receiving. The second person, Angela, carefully chooses to spend time with other entrepreneurs, people who say things like, "Failure is just learning. Every successful person started somewhere. Risks are manageable. With good planning, you can do this." She also consciously talks to herself in empowering ways, reminding herself of her strengths, her preparation, her determination. These suggestions program her subconscious mind for confidence and action. She makes bold decisions, persists through challenges, and succeeds, confirming the suggestions she'd been giving herself. Same goal, radically different outcomes. Because of the principle of suggestion understood and applied, you must be vigilant about what suggestions you allow into your mind and deliberate about programming yourself with suggestions that support certain success. Let's talk about the principle of autosuggestion, which Hawkins considers one of the most powerful tools for achieving certain success. Autosuggestion means deliberately feeding your subconscious mind specific ideas, images, and beliefs through conscious repetition. This isn't mysticism, it's practical psychology. Your subconscious mind accepts and acts on whatever you consistently tell it, whether positive or negative, empowering or limiting, true or false. Most people engage in negative autosuggestion without realizing it. They tell themselves, "I'm not good with money, I'm terrible at public speaking. I always fail at relationships. I'm not creative." These statements, repeated over time, become deeply embedded beliefs that their subconscious mind then works to confirm. They literally program themselves for failure, but you can use this same mechanism for success by deliberately, consistently, repeatedly telling your subconscious mind empowering beliefs, by visualizing successful outcomes, by affirming your capabilities and worth. You program yourself for certain success. Your subconscious mind then works to make these suggestions reality, alerting you to opportunities, generating creative solutions, giving you confidence and energy, making you resilient in the face of setbacks. Consider Stephen, who had terrible public speaking anxiety. Every time he had to present, he would tell himself, "I'm going to mess this up, everyone will judge me, I'm not good at this." His subconscious mind heard these suggestions and created the very experience he feared: shaky voice, forgotten points, visible nervousness. Then Stephen learned about autosuggestion. He started telling himself different things. Every day, multiple times per day, he would say, "I'm becoming an excellent speaker. I communicate clearly and confidently. People enjoy hearing what I have to say." At first, these statements felt false, but he persisted. He also visualized himself speaking confidently, seeing the positive reactions of audiences, feeling the calmness and clarity he wanted to experience. Within 6 months, his presentations had transformed. He was calmer, clearer, more engaging. Within a year, he was volunteering to present when he used to avoid it. Within 2 years, he was being invited to speak at industry conferences. His actual speaking ability improved through practice, but the breakthrough came from reprogramming his subconscious mind through autosuggestion. Now, Hawkins addresses something that many people struggle with, and that's the balance between self-confidence and humility. Some people err on the side of arrogance, believing they know everything and have nothing to learn. Others err on the side of self-doubt, believing they're inadequate and inferior. Neither extreme supports certain success. True confidence, the kind that leads to achievement, is based on accurate self-assessment. You recognize your genuine strengths and capabilities without exaggeration. You also acknowledge your weaknesses and areas for growth without self-criticism. You're confident in what you know and can do, and humble about what you don't know and can't do yet. This balanced confidence allows you to act boldly where you're competent and learn openly where you're not. Let me tell you about Patricia, who was brilliant at strategic thinking but terrible at execution details. Early in her career, her arrogance about her strategic abilities and denial of her execution weaknesses led to failed projects. She'd create brilliant plans that fell apart in implementation because she refused to acknowledge that she needed help with details. Then, she developed balanced confidence. She fully owned her strategic strength and confidently led strategic planning. but she also humbly acknowledged her execution weakness and deliberately surrounded herself with detail-oriented people who could implement her strategies. This combination of confidence in her strength and humility about her weakness led to extraordinary success. She wasn't trying to be good at everything. She was leveraging what she was excellent at, while humbly filling her gaps. This is wisdom, knowing where to be confident and where to be humble, where to lead and where to follow, where to trust yourself and where to seek help. This balanced approach is essential for certain success. Hawkins also teaches about the power of enthusiasm, but not superficial, fake enthusiasm. He's talking about genuine enthusiasm that comes from doing work you believe in, serving purposes you care about, pursuing goals that excite you. This authentic enthusiasm is magnetic. It attracts opportunities, resources, and people. It gives you energy even when work is hard. It makes you persuasive without trying. It sustains you through difficulties. Consider two teachers, both teaching the same subject to similar students. The first teacher, Brandon, sees teaching as just a job, something he does for a paycheck. He's competent, but not enthusiastic. His classes are fine, students learn, but there's no spark, no inspiration. The second teacher, Nicole, absolutely loves what she teaches. Her enthusiasm is genuine and contagious. She finds joy in explaining concepts, celebrates when students understand, gets excited about the material every single day. Her classes are electric, students engage deeply, learn more, and remember the material years later. Same subject, similar students, radically different outcomes. The difference is enthusiasm. Nicole's authentic passion made her an extraordinary teacher, opened doors to leadership positions, led to speaking opportunities, and created a career that was deeply fulfilling. Brandon remained stuck in mediocrity, not because he lacked competence, but because he lacked the power of enthusiasm. If you're not enthusiastic about what you're doing, you have two choices according to Hawkins. Either find a way to develop genuine enthusiasm for it by connecting it to purposes you care about, or change what you're doing. Life is too short, and success is too important to spend your days in work that doesn't inspire you. Find what lights you up, what excites you, what makes you want to jump out of bed in the morning, and then pour yourself into that with everything you have. Now let's discuss the principle of initiative, which Hawkins considers absolutely essential for certain success. Initiative means the ability to act without being told, to see what needs doing and do it, to identify problems and solve them, to recognize opportunities and seize them. Most people are reactive, waiting to be told what to do, following orders, responding to situations. People with initiative are proactive, creating situations, taking charge, leading rather than following. Let me share the story of Kevin, who worked in a retail store. Most employees waited for customers to ask for help, waited for the manager to tell them what to do, waited for problems to be pointed out. Kevin was different. He saw that customers struggled to find certain products, so he created better signage without being asked. He noticed that checkout lines got long during certain times, so he developed a system to call for backup before lines formed. He recognized that some products weren't selling, so he researched better alternatives and presented them to management. Was Kevin more talented than his co-workers? Not particularly. Was he more educated? No. The difference was initiative. He took action without waiting to be told. And what happened? Within a year, he was promoted to assistant manager. Within 3 years, he was managing his own store. Within 5 years, he was overseeing multiple locations. Initiative had become his ladder to success. The beautiful thing about initiative is that it's completely within your control. You don't need permission, special talent, or unique circumstances. You just need to develop the habit of seeing what needs doing and doing it, of identifying opportunities and acting on them, of taking responsibility without being asked. This single quality, consistently applied, can transform your trajectory. Hawkins also emphasizes the critical importance of concentration, the ability to focus your mental energy on one thing at a time with complete attention. In our modern world of constant distraction, this ability has become rare and therefore extraordinarily valuable. Most people's attention is fragmented, scattered across dozens of inputs and stimuli. They're physically present, but mentally absent, trying to do multiple things simultaneously and therefore doing nothing excellently. But those who develop the power of concentration, who can give complete attention to the task at hand, who can shut out distractions and focus deeply, achieve far more in less time with higher quality results. Concentration multiplies effectiveness exponentially. Think about Jennifer and Michael, both writers working on similar projects. Jennifer writes with multiple tabs open, checking social media every few minutes, responding to messages constantly, with music playing and television on in the background. She writes for 5 hours and produces maybe 1,000 words of mediocre quality. Michael writes with everything else closed, phone turned off, in a quiet space, giving complete attention to his writing. He writes for 2 hours and produces 2,000 words of excellent quality. Same goal, dramatically different results. The difference is concentration, the ability to focus completely on one thing. If you want to achieve certain success in any field, you must develop this power. Start small. Practice giving complete attention to simple tasks. Gradually extend your concentration periods. Eliminate distractions systematically. Train your mind to stay present with what you're doing, rather than wandering to what you might do or should have done. This mental discipline becomes a superpower in a distracted world. Now Hawkins teaches something profound about the relationship between giving and receiving. And understanding this principle can transform your entire approach to success. He says that the universe operates on a principle of circulation. Energy, resources, opportunities, they must flow to flow back. When you hoard, when you hold tight, when you're focused only on getting and keeping, you stop the circulation and therefore stop the flow back to you. But when you give freely, when you let resources flow through you rather than to you, when you're focused on contribution rather than accumulation, you keep the circulation going and ensure that flow continues to return. This isn't karma or mysticism, it's practical understanding of how energy moves in the universe. Let me tell you about William, a successful businessman who operated from scarcity for years. He accumulated wealth, but rarely gave, hoarded opportunities, played everything close to the vest. His business succeeded to a point, but then seemed to plateau. He felt stuck, limited, unable to break through to the next level. Then he learned about the principle of circulation. He started giving generously, donating to causes he cared about, sharing opportunities with others, freely offering his knowledge and connections. What happened? His business exploded. New opportunities flooded in. Partnerships formed. Resources multiplied. Within 2 years, his wealth had tripled. But more importantly, his life had become infinitely more fulfilling and meaningful. Was this magic? No. By giving freely, he signaled to the universe and to other people that he operated from abundance rather than scarcity. This attracted other abundant people and opportunities to him. By keeping energy circulating, he ensured continued flow. By focusing on contribution, he created massive value that naturally returned, multiplied. This principle requires a leap of faith initially, especially if you're used to operating from scarcity. But once you experience how it works, once you see that giving actually increases rather than decreases what you have, it becomes easier. Start small if you need to. Give your time, your knowledge, your attention, your encouragement. Notice how it comes back. Then give more. Watch what happens. Hawkins also addresses the importance of surrounding yourself with the right people, and this cannot be overstated. You become like the people you spend the most time with. Their attitudes seep into your attitudes. Their beliefs influence your beliefs. Their standards become your standards. If you surround yourself with negative, limited, mediocre people, you will likely become negative, limited, and mediocre, regardless of your potential. But if you deliberately surround yourself with positive, abundant, excellent people, you will naturally rise to their level. Their success makes your success seem normal and achievable. Their high standards pull you upward. Their support and encouragement sustain you through difficulties. Consider two friends, Lisa and Emma, both starting their careers with similar abilities and circumstances. Lisa naturally gravitated toward people who complained constantly, who saw obstacles everywhere, who were satisfied with mediocrity. After 5 years, Lisa had absorbed these attitudes and was stuck in a job she didn't like, making excuses for why she couldn't do better. Emma deliberately sought out people who were achieving what she wanted to achieve. She found mentors, joined groups of ambitious people, attended events where successful people gathered. These associations were sometimes uncomfortable at first. She felt like she didn't belong, like she was inferior. But she persisted. After 5 years, Emma had started her own successful company and was thriving. The difference? The people she surrounded herself with had elevated her standards, expanded her vision, and supported her growth. You must be strategic about your associations. This doesn't mean being cruel or abandoning old friends, but it does mean being deliberate about who you spend your time with, whose advice you seek, whose opinions you value. Certain success requires surrounding yourself with people who support that success rather than undermine it. Now let's discuss the principle of mental imagery, which Hawkins considered one of the most powerful tools for achieving goals. Your subconscious mind thinks in images, not words. When you create vivid mental images of your desired outcomes and regularly immerse yourself in these images, your subconscious mind begins working to make them reality. It alerts you to relevant opportunities, generates creative ideas, gives you motivation and energy, and even influences your body language and presence. But this isn't just daydreaming or wishful thinking. Effective mental imagery is specific, detailed, and emotionally engaging. You don't just vaguely imagine success, you create detailed mental movies of exactly what success looks like, feels like, sounds like. You imagine specific scenes in vivid detail. You feel the emotions of achievement. You make it real in your mind before it's real in your life. Let me tell you about Alex, an athlete preparing for an important competition. Many athletes train physically but neglect mental preparation. Alex did both. Every day, in addition to physical training, he would spend 20 minutes in detailed mental rehearsal. He would imagine every aspect of the competition, seeing himself performing with excellence, feeling the confidence and focus, hearing the sounds, experiencing the success. He made the achievement real in his mind first. When competition day came, Alex felt like he'd already done this 100 times. His mind and body performed almost automatically because they'd been programmed through mental imagery. He won, not just because of physical preparation, but because of the power of mental imagery combined with that preparation. You can apply this to any goal. Want to succeed in a presentation? Imagine it in detail. See yourself speaking confidently. Hear the words flowing smoothly. Feel the positive response. Want to have a difficult conversation? Rehearse it mentally. Imagine handling it with grace and clarity. Want to build a business? Visualize it operating successfully. See customers satisfied. Feel the fulfillment of serving them well. Make mental imagery a daily practice and watch how it transforms your results. Your mind cannot distinguish between vivid imagination and reality, so by creating detailed mental images of success, you program yourself to create that reality. Hawkins also teaches about the law of substitution, and this is incredibly practical. Your mind can only hold one thought at a time. This means you can't eliminate a negative thought through willpower alone, but you can substitute it with a positive thought. When fear arises, you can't just stop feeling fear, but you can substitute thoughts of confidence and capability. When doubt appears, you can't just eliminate doubt, but you can substitute evidence of your past successes and current strengths. This is powerful because it gives you a practical tool for managing your mental state. You're not trying to suppress negativity, which rarely works. You're replacing it with something more useful. Every time a limiting thought enters your mind, you immediately substitute an empowering thought. Over time, the empowering thoughts become more habitual and automatic. Think about Catherine, who struggled with imposter syndrome. Every time she had an accomplishment, her mind would say, "You just got lucky, you're not really qualified, people will find out you're a fraud." For years, she tried to just stop these thoughts, but they persisted. Then she learned the law of substitution. Instead of fighting the negative thoughts, she would immediately substitute them. When her mind said "you got lucky," she would substitute "I worked hard and earned this." When it said "you're not qualified," she would substitute "I have developed real skills and knowledge." When it said "people will find out," she would substitute "people already see my value and contributions." Within months, the imposter syndrome had dramatically diminished because she was consistently substituting empowering thoughts for limiting ones. Apply this in your own life. Notice the negative thoughts that habitually arise. Don't fight them. Substitute them. Prepare empowering alternatives in advance so you can quickly make the substitution when needed. This simple practice can dramatically transform your mental state and therefore your results. Let's talk about the principle of mastermind alliance, which Hawkins considered essential for achieving large goals. A mastermind alliance is a group of people committed to each other's success, meeting regularly to share knowledge, provide support, hold each other accountable, and synergize their thinking. The power of such a group far exceeds the sum of its individual members, because minds working together create something greater than any mind working alone. When you're stuck, members offer perspectives you hadn't considered. When you're discouraged, they provide encouragement and remind you of your vision. When you're celebrating, they genuinely rejoice with you. When you need connections or resources, they open doors. The Mastermind Alliance becomes a source of wisdom, strength, and opportunity that accelerates your path to certain success. Consider Brian, an entrepreneur struggling to grow his business. He was talented and hardworking, but felt isolated and often stuck. Then he formed a mastermind alliance with 4 other entrepreneurs at similar stages. They met weekly, each person sharing their biggest challenge, and the group would brainstorm solutions, share resources, and hold each other accountable to committed actions. The results were remarkable. Problems that seemed insurmountable to Brian alone were solved quickly with the group's collective wisdom. Opportunities emerged through the group's networks that never would have appeared otherwise. The accountability kept everyone moving forward consistently. Within 1 year, Brian's business had grown more than in the previous 3 years combined. He attributed much of this success to his mastermind alliance. You need to form or join such a group. Find people who are on a similar journey, who share your commitment to growth and success, who will be honest and supportive, meet regularly, contribute generously, and watch how the synergy accelerates everyone's progress. Certain success is easier and more enjoyable when pursued in partnership with other committed people. Now, as we approach the conclusion of this journey through the principles of certain success, let me share one final story that brings everything together. There was a man named Daniel who started with nothing. He grew up in poverty, had limited education, faced discrimination, and had every reason to believe success was impossible for him. But he encountered the principles we've discussed, and everything changed. He developed absolute certainty that success was possible through application of proven principles. He cultivated a prosperity consciousness, believing in abundance rather than scarcity. He specialized his knowledge in one valuable area and became exceptional at it. He gave surplus service, always providing more value than he received in payment. He surrounded himself with positive, successful people who elevated his standards. He used mental imagery to program his subconscious mind for success. He persisted intelligently through challenges, learning from every setback. He took initiative, acted with concentration, and made decisions with clear judgment. Within 5 years, Daniel had built a thriving business. Within 10 years, he had achieved financial freedom. Within 15 years, he was teaching others these principles and helping hundreds of people achieve their own success. What changed? Not his circumstances at the start, those were difficult. Not his natural advantages, he had few. What changed was his understanding and application of the principles of certain success. And here's the most important thing I want you to understand. These same principles are available to you right now. Your current circumstances do not determine your future results. Your past failures do not predict your future success. What determines your trajectory is your willingness to understand and apply these timeless principles with consistency and faith. You can develop commercial ability by focusing on how you serve others. You can cultivate the certainty attitude by preparing thoroughly and trusting proven principles. You can practice organized effort by planning clearly and executing systematically. You can build momentum by persisting through the difficult starting phase. You can adopt a prosperity consciousness by focusing on abundance rather than scarcity. You can render surplus service by giving more than you're paid for. You can be intelligently persistent by maintaining commitment to your vision while being flexible about methods. You can direct your mental focus towards solutions and opportunities rather than problems and limitations. You can program your subconscious mind through auto-suggestion and mental imagery. You can develop balanced confidence by honestly assessing your strengths and weaknesses. You can generate authentic enthusiasm by connecting your work to purposes you care about. You can take initiative by acting without waiting to be told. You can concentrate deeply by eliminating distractions and focusing completely. You can practice circulation by giving freely and trusting the return. You can surround yourself with people who elevate you. You can form a mastermind alliance that accelerates everyone's success. You can substitute empowering thoughts for limiting ones. You can make these principles not just ideas you understand intellectually, but habits you practice daily until they become automatic, until success becomes certain rather than hopeful, until you know rather than try. The path to certain success isn't mysterious or magical. It's based on principles as reliable as gravity or mathematics. When you understand these principles and apply them consistently, success becomes inevitable. Not easy necessarily, not instant, but inevitable. Just as consistently turning on a light switch will always illuminate a room, consistently applying these principles will always produce success. So I want to challenge you today, right now, to make a decision. Not to try these principles, not to hope they work, but to know they work, and to commit to applying them until success is yours. Choose one principle to focus on this week. Maybe it's rendering surplus service in your current work. Maybe it's developing the certainty attitude about a specific goal. Maybe it's starting daily mental imagery practice. Choose one, commit fully, and watch what begins to shift. Then add another principle next week and another the week after, until you're consistently applying all these principles in your daily life. As you do, you'll notice changes. Some will be external, new opportunities appearing, better results manifesting, doors opening that were closed. But the most profound changes will be internal, a deepening confidence, a quiet knowing that success is certain, a peace that comes from understanding and applying universal laws. Remember the stories we've explored today. Thomas, who went from factory worker to factory owner by understanding certain success. Sarah, who transformed her bakery by focusing on service rather than profit. Marcus, who multiplied his sales by adopting the certainty attitude. James, the janitor, who became a partner through surplus service. Michelle, who succeeded through intelligent persistence. Every one of these people started where you are, uncertain perhaps, limited by circumstances perhaps, but willing to learn and apply these principles. Your story can be just as remarkable, even more so. The principles don't care about your background, your education, your current resources. They work for anyone who works them. They're democratic, available to all, infinitely patient, and absolutely reliable. All they require is your understanding, your commitment, and your consistent application. As we close this exploration of certain success, I want you to feel something deeply. Feel the possibility that opens up when you realize success isn't about luck or privilege or special gifts. Feel the power of knowing that you hold in your hands right now the keys to achieving whatever you genuinely desire. Feel the excitement of beginning a journey where the destination is certain, where the path is clear, where the principles are proven. Your life can change starting today. Not someday, not when circumstances are perfect, not when you feel ready. Today. By understanding that success is certain when you apply certain principles. By choosing to operate from abundance rather than scarcity. By committing to give more than you receive. By persisting intelligently through challenges. By focusing your mind on what you want rather than what you fear. By taking initiative and acting with certainty. The principles Norval Hawkins laid out remain as true and powerful today as when he first articulated them. They've created countless success stories across generations, industries, and circumstances. They'll create yours, too, if you let them. Not might create, not could create, will create. That's the beauty of understanding certain success. You move from hope to knowing, from trying to doing, from wishing to achieving. So go forward from this moment with certainty. Know that as you apply these principles consistently, success must follow as surely as sunrise follows night. Trust the process even when results aren't immediately visible. Remembering the principle of accumulation. Persist through challenges, remembering that every setback is simply information for adjustment. Give generously, remembering the law of circulation. Focus positively, remembering the law of mental attraction. Act with initiative, remembering that waiting never created anything. And most importantly, believe not just in these principles, but in yourself, in your ability to learn them, apply them, and achieve through them. You have within you right now everything you need to begin. The knowledge is yours. The principles are clear. The path is illuminated. All that remains is your decision to walk it with certainty, consistency, and commitment. Before we part, I want to ask you something. If this message has resonated with you, if these principles have sparked something in your mind and heart, if you believe this information could help others on their journey to success, please like and subscribe to Audiobook Library. Your support helps this channel grow and reach more people who need these timeless principles of certain success. Every like, every subscription, every share extends the reach of these ideas to someone who might be exactly where you were at the beginning of this message, looking for answers, seeking direction, needing hope. By supporting this channel, you're not just helping create more content, you're participating in a movement to spread principles that can genuinely transform lives. You're helping build a community of people committed to excellence, service, and certain success. You're ensuring that these timeless teachings reach the people who need them most. So if this has been valuable to you, if you've found insight or inspiration or practical guidance here, take just a moment right now to like this content and subscribe to Audiobook Library. And here's my final message to you. Certain success isn't just possible for you, it's waiting for you. It's already yours, held in reserve by a universe that wants you to succeed, that designed principles specifically to ensure your success when you understand and apply them. All that stands between you and the life you desire is your commitment to these principles and your consistency in applying them. So make that commitment now. Not tomorrow, not next week, now. Commit to rendering surplus service. Commit to operating from abundance. Commit to intelligent persistence. Commit to organized effort. Commit to mental discipline. Commit to continuous growth. Commit to certain success. Your extraordinary life is waiting. Go claim it with certainty, knowing that every step taken in alignment with these principles is a step toward inevitable success. The journey may have challenges, but the destination is certain. Walk forward with confidence, with faith, with the absolute knowing that success is not a matter of if, but when. Not a matter of luck, but of law. Not a matter of hope, but of certainty. This is your moment. This is your time. These are your principles. Your certain success begins now. Thank you for investing this time in your growth and your future. Now go apply what you've learned and watch your life transform in ways that will amaze even you. Success isn't coming to you. You're stepping into it with certainty, starting right now.